Hello everyone, my name is Oyele Olawale. It's been a while, I've been off the grid, I'm so sorry. Been attending to one tournament or the other, training children how to play chess. But now I'm fully back to annotating games of Nigerian chess players. This is a game between Fabeyo Fred versus Kalesanwo Abimbola at the Sipan Chess League, round 1. And this game I'm going to title How to Win with a Blunder. Kalesanwo made a very big blunder, which now turned to be a good move because Fabeyo Fred could not exploit the blunder. Now, the game is semi-Slav opening. Started with d4, d5. Fabeyo Fred was white, Kalesanwo Abimbola was black, and you see the queen's gambit and bishop f5. This time around does not intend to lock his bishop in by pushing e6 first. He brought his bishop to be very active, and after the pawn exchange, knight takes, queen b3, queen b6, e4, queen times b3, a times b3, then knight takes knight, bishop takes, pawn takes f5. Now this line was played before by Jankovic versus Petrov, which ended in a draw. White pawn structure is bad in my own opinion, but as compensation on his bishop's pair with semi-open fouls for his rooks that will come into play. The downside is black only needs to exchange all the white pieces to have a favorable endgame because white queen side pawns will be a great weakness by then. Now the game continued, knight d5, bishop c4, knight d7, castle, now g6, trying to exchange the pawn captures, h takes, bishop takes the pawn. Well, I'm not supporting bishop takes d5 here, but there's nothing else white could do. White could just hang in there for a draw because it does not have any serious play since it's reducing all the pieces on the board. Now with bishop g5 and now e6, rook f c1, and here black wants to castle. He just needs to castle because the only square that he could castle to the queen side is being stopped by the rook on c1. We see all white pieces are very, very active. Now all he needs to do is just to castle. But before he castles, I think there should be some preparatory move that he will have done. He does not want the rook also to penetrate into the 7th rank. So hence, he played bishop to d6, which right now is the biggest blunder in the whole world. Can you spot the minimum move for white? Okay, here, all it takes was rook to a7. And here, if the rook should take back, the rook simply goes to c8 and it becomes a checkmate. And if the rook decides not to take, the rook takes the second pawn again, and if the rook goes back to a8, you still want to force it. If it's still not bulging, then you bring the rook to c6, attacking the bishop. The bishop has to leave or he's going to die. If the bishop leaves, yeah, that's the only square it can go to f8, and now we put the second rook on c7, and the two rooks on the 7th rank. Of course, this game is totally over. And if the bishop should go now to b4, which is also a possibility, but here also we still have the same rook here. If the rook goes back, rook simply captures the bishop on b4, and if rook goes down to a1 check, it's just bring a rook back to c1, and this game is completely over. But in the game, let's go back to the game. In the game, immediately after bishop d6, white played rook c2. He couldn't see it. He didn't see that coming. Because probably he didn't expect his opponent to play that, but you have to expect everything. That's what the position says. And here, the move castles, and all of a sudden, black was playing according to plan, which is after kicking the bishop away, now decides to exchange the two rooks. Exchanging the rooks, and once the rooks are off the board, the position is very okay for black. All he has to do is just try to reduce all black spaces, white spaces right now. Pawn push, and now he has a central pawn. Two central pawn rows. All they have to do is keep going forward and check on the light square because he has a dark square bishop. Now bishop check. He played here like a master, and it was totally dominating. Just taking it was so easy. It was easy play for him. He exchanged the last pieces on the board, and he won with technique, a very lovely technique. Bringing the pawn forward, trying to exchange the last pawn, and he took the last pawn on the king side, and now shifting his attacks to the queen side. The pawn is going to queen and takes the pawn. Then he now has the chance to go for this other pawn over here, and a very lovely move. Knight in there takes, knight here takes, and it's a very, very wonderful endgame technique by black. So that was the end of the game between Fabeyo Fred versus Kalesanwo Abimbola. We'll look out for more games, interesting, exciting games for you later this week, or the weekend, or next week, or next time that we'll see. Thank you very much. God bless you.